All right, welcome back. So in this section, things are about to get complicated. um, so we're going to talk about the management API, the specifically for Databricks. So the Databricks management API. Where we left off, I was showing you how to communicate between Power BI and Databricks using my own personal access token. So if we go to the settings of this, we're using my access token. But what we want to do is one, we want to get away from doing, GUI work like this, but I still want to show you how to do it in the user interface. And we also want to get away from using our own personal access tokens if at all possible. It's a little bit complicated though, especially when it comes to visibility. So where everything starts is with Microsoft Intra, and we essentially created our own service principals. And what we'll need to do next is use our service principals with our service principal OAuth secrets to communicate with the Databricks REST API. The REST API has both account level and workspace level endpoints. And what we're going to be doing is thinking about this from the workspace perspective. So remember, from Power BI, we want to reach into a workspace. So that means that we're going to need workspace permissions. So our service principal needs to have permissions within the workspace. The assumption is that you've already taken care of that. So the next up is, well, whatever permissions that service principal has, how do we access those permissions programmatically? Well, we need to do that with a service principal's personal access token. So when we call the API, we're going to call it, and then we're going to get a personal access token for that service principal. And we can then pass that on to Power BI using the REST API, or so Power BI has its own API service as well. So we can pass it directly to their API, or we can just put it in through the UI. But we need to get familiar with the Databricks REST API itself, not just for the creation of this token, but also just for the management of tokens in general. So if we were to come out to our workspace, what we can do is we can go to the user settings or the admin settings. If you're the admin, they're both going to take you to the same place. And so we're going to come down here to the left-hand side. We're going to come down here to developer. We'll go to manage access tokens. And what you can see here is I've got some tokens that I can easily delete or generate. So what I want to do is create one for myself again. So we're going to say demo keep. Don't worry too much about this code for the time being. Just I'm going to copy this. I'll say done. I'm going to come over here to one of my notebooks, go to my token management, and paste this here for you. So I've got a token that I want to work with. I'm going to create another one that says demo delete. Okay. So we're going to delete this in just a minute. And I want to set this lifetime to 1 day. If I didn't set this to expire, then basically if I just did this, then it is set to never expire. So you can see that it's set to never expire. If I delete that because I don't want that out here right now, we'll create another one that just says demo delete. And I'll have this one set to automatically delete after 1 day. Done. I'm not going to copy the token. We're going to delete it anyways. So these are my personal access tokens, and you can kind of see them right now. They're all visible to me, but maybe somebody else on my team created one. I can't see that here, but I can see these ones at least. Now, if I go to the account level management, so if I was to go into, rather than my workspace settings, but to manage my account, and I go to users and groups, and I go to service principals, you can see that I've got multiple service principals here. If I was to go to one of them, I've already got OAuth secrets created. So this is just the ID of my secret. It's not the actual secret. If I wanted to generate another secret, I could, but I don't really want to. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete that one. So you see how easy it is for me to create my own personal access token and the OAuth secrets for the service principal. Well, this is that first step. So if we wanted to create a personal access token for the service principal, we could do that by passing the service principal's ID and their OAuth secret that was generated potentially through the UI. Uh, I also showed you how you can create the OAuth secret for that principal ID using Terraform. So what we did before was we created our service principal secret. That is what I am showing you how to generate here through the UI. So far those pieces can be done through the UI. The next step would be if I was to call the API and create it using the REST API, we would have a token out there, but you can't see it. You don't know where it is. So it's kind of invisible. I cannot click ops my way through the management of it. So before you create a personal access token, you need to understand how to manage it programmatically. Otherwise, you lose sight of it, and that's just not good for your security. So what you need to do is go to the Databricks documentation for their APIs, pick your provider. In our case, it's Azure, and we're going to go at the workspace level like we just discussed. And what we're going to do is look down at the settings, and then you've got not only tokens, but token management. And this is what we're interested in. You've got your get token permissions. You've got your various other items here. The ones that I'm most interested in, though, would be get token info and then delete tokens, and I guess list all tokens actually. So list all tokens and delete. These two are the ones I care the most about. So the list all tokens, this is a get request, and what this does is this will show me the tokens that I have access to, and so I'm an admin, so I can see a lot of tokens. And so we're just going to look at a really simple Python notebook. So I'm just going to, let's go ahead and restart. I'm going to do I'm going to import request so that I can make an API call. And I just showed you that I've got an API token here. Now, for my personal access token, I could store this in a key vault. I could store this as an environmental variable, but I'm just showing you, and I'm going to delete this after the demo anyways. So if you remember, what I did was I grabbed my personal access token, so I'm using the keep one, and I'm going to look for this demo delete. So if I've got my own token, what I want to do is I need my host. So my host is at HTTPS, and then it's this it's basically just the URL of my workspace. That's my host. So that's the first part that I need, and then I need that endpoint. So the endpoint was API 2.0 token management tokens. So that's the first two pieces. I'm just going to put those together using an F string. Do it however you want. For my headers, I need to use my bearer authentication token. Again, remember, I am blocking public access to my workspace, so that helps keep this a little bit more secure. I'm on my site-to-site VPN right now. But if you've got yours opened up to the public, then it wouldn't matter. So I'm passing my headers, and then I'm going to do a GET request, just sending up my URL in my headers, and then I'll get my response. If I get a 200, it means that it was successful. I've got permission. And all I'm doing is I'll go ahead and just kind of show you what the response looks like. So response.json. Got a bunch of stuff in here, so you can kind of cycle through that. And I'm going to kind of break it down so it's a little bit easier for us to see. So I'm just extracting out the token info from the JSON, and then I'm going to just kind of loop through it. And I'm just kind of pulling out the token ID and then the comment. A comment is not mandatory, but I recommend that you have a comment so that you can more easily navigate. And this way, what I can see is, well, hey, this is the one that I want to delete. So I'm just going to grab this ID. You can extract it however you want. And I'm just going to call this one delete me. So like I said, we've got all of these token IDs here. I'm going to delete this one. So the next API that I was telling you that you need to know is this delete. So this is very similar. You're calling the same endpoint, but this time you're saying API 2.0 token management tokens, and you're just sending a delete is all. So instead of sending a get, you're sending a delete. And remember, I'm adding that delete ID, so the ID of the token. And that's it. I got a 200. So if we cycle back through this one more time, let's reestablish the API call. And then I'm going to skip down to keep an eye on this. We've got the delete me here. If I iterate right back through it, you see that it's no longer there. So what I've done is I've effectively showed you how to look at your tokens and delete them. So I've not showed you how to create the service principal token yet, but this is a management step that you need to understand, so that, like, if we were to scroll back up and look at these service principals and we can create a scrollable item, you can see some really useful information. So I can see the comment, which is, like I said, not mandatory, but it helps me know what it is. I can see the created by ID. I can see the created by username. I can see the ID of it, or the owner ID. I can see the token ID. You can see the expiration time if it's, you know, -1, or if it's got a specific date. So the management of this token, these tokens, is extremely important. So you need to know how to do this before you take the next step, which would be actually creating that service principal. So, or that service principal token. So hopefully this video was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.